What's up, everyone? All right, well, I am back for a second recap. This doesn't happen often. Usually when it does, well, I guess it's 50-50. Sometimes it's because I totally screwed up and went red. Today, well, I'm not super happy with my trading, but I did recover the losses on PGY and I'm green. And so we'll go over the trades. I caught a nice red to green move a little bit earlier, just before class started, actually. I've been teaching class for the last few hours here, but yeah, it was just the problem with today, which we'll talk about during the recap, was that I was up only like $400 when I did my first recap. And so, you know, I had 3 losses. I had given back 75% of my profits. I should have been done. And then PGY started squeezing up and I jumped in it for a red to green move. And I made back the loss and I'm green on it now. And I had a pretty nice trade. The trade itself was fine. It was a great trade. It was the best trade I had of the day. The problem was I shouldn't have taken it. And I shouldn't have taken the trade because I had already given back more than 75% of my gains. I'd already had 3 losses and I was risking going red on the day. And it's not worth it. It's so much better in this market to have small base hits, small green days. Big red days, it's just, I'm not gonna be able to dig myself out of the hole of a big red day, and taking that risk as it's squeezing up, it's just not worth it. So I'm a little disappointed, but I'm gonna recap it, and I think, you know, nobody's perfect, and I should have walked away, but I sort of fell into what could have very easily ended up being a bull trap, and then I'd be doing a red day recap here, you know, which is why it's really so risky to trade, you know, when you're kind of have had several losses and you've already given back gains, because you start getting a little reckless. You take too much risk and you're kind of throwing a Hail Mary pass. You know, it's like, you know, it's only in the last minute of a basketball game that someone's going to try to shoot from, you know, half court, right? You would never do that during like regular game, except that it's like Hail Mary, let's see. I know Hail Mary is like football, but whatever. It's the same idea. So the thing with trading is, like, you wouldn't typically take this really high risk aggressive trade, you know, except when you're already red in the day, you're trying to recoup losses, and it just can be such a trap. So we'll talk about it during the recap. Thank you for tuning in. I hope it's helpful, and we'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. So today we had a good class on algo scalping. This was for students. So that class we finished today. We did about 4 hours of class, and then we've got class again tomorrow for Warrior members. And then Wednesday at 1 o'clock, I'm gonna do a condensed version for you guys here on YouTube. So I hope you guys enjoy it. There'll be a link right down below that you can check out to register if you'd like to attend it. We're gonna talk about the algo scalping strategy, and I'll shed some light, hopefully, for you on how high frequency trading algorithms work in the market. So tune into that. That's gonna be Wednesday, 1 o'clock, and I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning for the morning show. So I'll see you then. Enjoy the recap. All right, so I'm gonna do my recap here, take 2. You know, it's almost 4 o'clock at the end of the day. So when I did my first recap, I was up 400 on the day, 417 to be exact, I believe it was. And I was down 1,300 on PGY, and now you can see I'm up 1,800 on PGY. So I ended up getting a bit of a trade on this one, a little bit of a red to green trade, if you will. And, you know, let's go over it, and then I'll kind of give you my 2 cents on the trade. So in the first recap, already talked about TBLT, this one, secondary offering, private placement. This morning, I was out of it about like 10 seconds before the drop. I was taking the break for the squeeze up to 8. It didn't go, and then I sold, and then like 10 seconds later, it drops from 780 down to 7, and then 680, 650, 620, 6, and I was like, there's definitely news on it. And then the news hit that there was announcing a private placement priced at a premium to the market. So you know, this type of stuff is just so typical. We see it all the time with small caps, but you know, traders who were hoping that would happen yesterday or maybe Thursday, you know, it squeezed a little higher before it rolled over, and sometimes they do. Now you can go into the SEC filings and see whether or not these companies have a shelf registration, but many small caps do, and it gives them the right at any time to sell shares on the open market. And this one had one for $100 million. And even if they didn't have a shelf registration, a company after a couple of really nice big green days can file a shelf registration. So, you know, it's unfortunately not something that can totally be avoided. So if you lost on this, unfortunately, this is sort of like just part of trading, and it just happens, and it's bad luck, and trading is hard enough without dealing with bad luck, but I don't know if there's much you could have done to avoid it, because it can just happen. So anyways, that was on TBLT. Got some trades pre-market on KAVL, Algo Spike, SIGA, a couple trades on that, a dip on that. FAZE, this one was pretty volatile today, had a squeeze up, dropped down, did a red to green at about 11 a.m., sold off hard. Just tough action with these moves. So what was the right thing for me to do today? Well, and this is always a challenge. So we'll talk about it for a second. So today I worked my way to up about $1,800. And then I jumped in PGY at the open, or very, very shortly into the open, as it started squeezing up on this candle here, because I was like, okay, here we go. All of a sudden it started moving, and I got in at like 11:15, added at 11:25 and 35 and 45. So I sized up into it, looking for that squeeze and the rip through 12. This was the level that we had dialed in pre-market, $12. I wasn't sure it was going to go, but when it started to squeeze, I was like, okay, here we go. Maybe it will. And then it reversed really quick all the way down to 10.18. And I'm glad I only lost about 1,300 on it. I certainly could have lost more, but with that, I went from up about 1,800 on the day to up 666. I felt that was a quite unlucky number. So I took one more trade on it and lost another $100, and then I was up only 500. And then I took one trade on, let's see, a REVB, and I lost 120 on that one, and that left me where I was at my first recap, which was up 117 on the day, or something like that. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I'm done for the day. I gave back 2/3 of my profit. I'm done. This is just, I'm not having a good day. And I was feeling a little disappointed. I mean, I was like, this is a red, it felt like a red day. I just, even though I wasn't actually red, it felt like a red day. And so, but at the same time, it was still fairly early. And so I was sitting here and I still had PGY chart up. And when it started to pop up right here, so I think I took a trade on it. I took a trade on it like right in this area here, and that was the one that I lost like 120 on or whatever, $100 on. And at that point, I think this is like when I was doing my recap. Did my recap, it must have been a short one, and then it comes back up right here to 11, and it pulls back. I didn't get in at 11. I don't even know if I saw it. But then it does a micro pullback here at 11.25. And this is where I punched it. So 11.25, and I started with 1,000 shares, and it goes like 11.27, 11.30, and I sized up right away to 4,000 shares. Now, 4,000 shares on this stock, that's pretty risky, right? It breaks 11.55, 11.60, and I added for the break of 12. This was the high of day at 11.60. So we got this squeeze here all the way up to 12.20. And I took my profit as it broke through 12. I was pretty quick to take my profit, and then I actually added back right here on the dip at like 1190. It broke 12, it dipped down, I added back on the dip, it popped back up over 12 to 1235 and then went red, and I think I sold that like flat. Or I might have even lost a little bit on it. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just see if it can hold this level, because 12 was this really important level, and it ended up not holding, ended up coming back down, popping back up, and then just like selling really hard on this candle. And I don't know what the deal was with that. But anyway, so it broke that critical level, but it couldn't hold above it. And, you know, today's a day where I feel like it's a win for the P&L, but a loss from the perspective of risk management, because, you know, I don't think I really should have taken that last trade. I think it was too risky. I think this is the exact type of trade that on another day would have left me down like 3,000 or 4,000 on the day. I mean, maybe not that much with, you know, that type of share size, but I could have easily gone from up 400 to down 1,500, you know, and that's not worth it. You know what I mean? Like, that's a small green day. That this could have been a successful bad day, as I said during my first recap. A successful bad day, a day where, you know, I got green, gave back 2/3. It's not a great day, but it's a successful bad day because at least I'm not red. But instead, I, you know, took that aggressive trade there and kind of put the whole day on the line, really. You know, I put the whole day on the line with this kind of later morning trade. And, you know, today it paid off. If I do the same thing tomorrow, I bet it won't pay off, because these types of trades where you've already had like 3 or 4 losses and they're, you know, you've gone from up X amount and you've given back 75% of it. It's always that last trade that's like the Hail Mary trade. And when you lose on it, you just feel like, man, that was so stupid. You know, why did I do that? Why was I not just happy with, you know, 500 or whatever it was, 400. So, you know, I think that I definitely got a red to green move today. Well, see, I wasn't even red, but it's that perception of feeling like I was red, you know, but I got that swing. I got the red to green move on PGY, that's for sure. And, you know, the trade itself, like the chart, the technicals of the trade, that's fine. This was a fine trade. There was nothing wrong with this trade. Would have been a better entry at 11, but you know, whatever. 1125 is fine to anticipate the squeeze through the high. There was nothing wrong with the trade. The problem was me taking the trade after I had already given back 75% of my profit, and I was feeling frustrated. That was the problem. So this was a sort of failure from a discipline standpoint and a risk management standpoint, because it's much better to walk away with a small green day than to risk going red. It's just not worth it. So, you know, as it turns out, I ended up making like $3,000 on that trade and going from down or up 400 to up 3,600. So, you know, it ends up being a good day. And the worst thing about this is that it's a reinforcement of poor discipline, right? The money's right there. I just got reinforced for poor discipline, for, you know, pushing a little too hard later in the day after I'd already had 3, you know, or whatever losses. I actually did have 3, because I had one on PGY, the big one, and then a second smaller one, and then a third one on REVB. So I had 3 small losses in a row, was down, giving back 75% of my gains, and I took that last trade. So, you know, I mean, in terms of the rules that I usually set for myself, in terms of 3 red trades, you should walk away, or giving back more than half your profit, you should walk away. I didn't follow either of those today. You know, and I still ended up finishing with a good day. So that's just, you know, that's the tough thing about trading, is you can get rewarded when you're, you know, too aggressive. You get rewarded for averaging down, for, you know, taking too much risk. And then you can also sometimes feel like you get punished for following the rules. You know, I could have sat this one out and then it goes to like $16 and I'm like, ugh, you know, here I am like telling myself not to trade anymore because I had 3 losses. Meanwhile, this thing is really strong. I should have kept trading it. So the best thing you can do is be consistent. And today I'm just a little bit bummed out that I kind of just, you know, in that moment, I sort of was like, you know what? screw it, I'm going in. And that kind of attitude is where you're no longer grateful for the gains you've already made. And you're willing just to be like, this $400, like, I don't care. And if you start treating your account like that, you can give back a lot of money really, really quickly. So anyways, you know, I ended up finishing the day in the green, but I need to try to be a little bit better tomorrow when it comes to discipline. And I think I was too aggressive on this move right here. It's just, you know, I'm kind of like a dog with a squirrel or something. I see it starting to move and I jump on, and next thing you know, I've run myself right off a cliff. It's happened more than once. But that's part of momentum trading, and probably every momentum trader can agree and relate to some extent. That, you know, we chase momentum. We buy high, we sell higher, and it feels great when it works, and when it doesn't work, it doesn't feel so good. But that's part of trading, and you try to be right more than you're wrong. And so had a good idea, nice trade, but I didn't just manage the risk well based on where it was at on the day. And then it ended up halting down and pulling back a little bit. I saw there was a little bit of momentum. Some traders were mentioning costs. KOSS halted up, ended up opening. I mean, it's kind of crazy that it halted up here at $8.93 and resumed and resumed at 11.24. You know, when could I get into a 3-point gap on a halt? Boy, that's you don't get that every day, but that sure is a nice win. So good job for those that got that. OPAL, saw some traders mentioning this one. So this was halted going into the close, resumed, dip and rip there up to 11. It's this, see, look at these patterns. The pattern, right? Look at the daily chart on this. You've got those who are in the algo scalping class, low relative daily volume, recent de-SPAC company, very similar to FaZe, FAZE, right? Very similar to PGY. There's a pattern here going on right now. So we need to watch these closely. OPAL, you know, I'm not going to trade at this time of the day, but it's certainly moving. So, you know, that's good to see. But it's lighter on volume with bigger spreads. But from 10 there up to 1190, son of a gun, golly. So that's up 50%. We'll see if it holds going into tomorrow. But it's, so the funny thing is it's a blue sky setup right now, but the daily chart, right? The problem with this is that it's at all-time highs right now, but that's after hours. So that won't show, like tomorrow when you sit down and look at the chart, you'll see the after hours price action, but your daily chart just shows this high of, you know, 1003. Look at that, 1262. You know, these, anytime you get these kind of moves, it's just like, oh my goodness, you know, light volume, big squeeze, they're hard to trade. So anyways, whatever. That's where I'm at today. It's about 4:13, and you've got at least a little bit of action here, I guess, but pretty light volume stuff. So hopefully we have a better day tomorrow, and hopefully I can manage my risk a little bit better tomorrow than I did today, and finish tomorrow with a small green day, or a successful red day is just fine as well. All right, so that's it for me. Thank you guys for tuning in. Reminder, as always, trading is risky. My results are not typical, so make sure you take it slow, and I'll see you back at it first thing tomorrow morning. All right, we'll see you then. I hope you really enjoyed that video, and make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Our goal is to hit 1 million subscribers this year, but we won't get there without your help. So please, please, please hit that subscribe button.